The Peter Gordon Pod.
Hello and welcome to Episode 5, the final episode in the series of the Peter Gordon Pod. And it is hello from yours truly, PG. It is hello from hims truly, sorry, Maestro Matt.
Hello.
And it is hello from hers truly, the one and only, be careful, Bev.
Oh, hello.
Oh, very good.
Nice.
Anyway, everyone all right? Here we are. Can you believe it's the final one in the series already?
I
know.
It's flown by. And you know, thank you. If you've been with us, if you stayed with us, if you stayed the course, and now you're into episode 5, well, bless you and well done. And thank you very much. And I have to say, we've had a fantastic reaction to this series. We've had lots of people listening, which is just great. And I hope you've enjoyed it. By the sounds of it, a lot of people have, which has been good. Let's have a quick round the room then, see how everyone is. Last time we spoke, morning, Matt, you were either moving or you had moved or you hadn't quite moved, but you're about to. Where are we now?
We are moved. Yes, we are back in Surrey. So we moved over the weekend. And then yesterday night, I put up the Christmas tree again. With all the decorations and the candy canes and the lights. But yes, we are all moved now. So we're not at the seaside anymore. We are back in Surrey.
Hooray!
The candy canes. I like the candy canes. Good visualization. That's very good. So be careful, Bev. Where are you and what's going on? And oh, come on.
I'm at home. My tree's been up since September. Added some crackers this last week. Got some corking crackers. Because, you know, normally you get rubbish crackers with like mini cards in that you never play or little kitchen gadgets that are too rubbishy to ever do the job that they're supposed to do. Well, I've found crackers this year that have got little mini wind-up Santas in. And then you get a big sheet with it. And then you pull your cracker, you get your little wind-up Father Christmas or man out, and you have races with everybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite nice. That's quite like that.
Yeah, that's great.
As long as they stay the course, you know. I mean, you know, as long as they're all equal. You don't want any of those that will wind up, you know, one being better than the other, and, you know, someone wins all the races.
It reminds me of, you know, when you go to the fair or outdoor, you know, when you go to Brighton or something, and they've got those things where you roll the balls and you get them in the things, and you've got to make your horse go along or something like that. And then it reminds me of something like that.
Yeah, that's very good crackers like those. Yeah. So have they just been sort of lying around, those crackers, or have you sort of found them this year?
I just found them in a random shop, you know.
Oh, well done, very good. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly a little bit of business to deal with just ahead of moving on further with the agenda today, and something that happened on Twitter since the last episode. This went up on the Peter Gordon Pod Twitter feed at Peter Gordon Pod. Fun poll. Who's been the best in the pod so far? Vote now. The choices were PG, obviously, Bev, Matt, none of them. In fourth place, Maestro Matt. I don't know. I'm upset with that. 7%. In third place, none of them with 20%, which is good. And there we go. So
no,
what?
Second place.
Second place. Although it was me with 28%, and be careful, Bev was 45%.
Nice.
However, I think this is fake news, because what I think is a lot of people didn't want to vote for me, and I understand that, you know, it's one of those things.
It's good to see that this year has not made any difference to your overinflated ego, Peter Gordon. I think they voted instead for none of them. So if you add the none of them total and the PG total, that comes to 48%. And Bev, you're 45%. So technically, I still won anyway. There we are. That's the result. Come on, you wouldn't want it any other way. Okay, let's see what is coming up in this final episode of the Peter Gordon Pod series. We are absolutely delighted to be joined by our pod pal for this episode from Michael Usher Mortgages. The one and only mortgage megastar himself, Michael Usher, will be here. Plus, we're going to be selecting another Christmas hero that Bev's going to be telling you about. We also thought we'd end the year talking to the High Sheriff of Surrey. He will be with us. We also are going to be, can you believe, we are actually going to be joined by the
Father Christmas. And we will be updating you on the campaign that we have been following, the charity campaign for Step by Step, for hoping to look after more homeless and young, vulnerable people, of course. Once again this Christmas, we will find out where their campaign has got. That is all coming up in the coming minutes here on the pod.
The Peter Gordon Pod with PG, Bev and Matt.
So for this final podcast in this series of the Peter Gordon Pod, I am honoured, delighted. I'm almost metaphorically bowing down because from Michael Usher Mortgages is the mortgage megastar himself, the one and only Michael Usher. Hello.
Hello, Peter. Good afternoon. How are you?
Was that a good enough introduction for you? I know you tried to script it for me, but I thought I'd make it up.
Well, I'm a shy man.
That's not true. Anyway, Michael, thank you so much for being the pod pal on this final episode of the series. It's just a delight, and I know you've listened to some of the series as well, and all the rest of it, so you know what this bit's all about. And really, it's catching up and saying hello. Well, every time we've spoken to someone, of course, on this podcast, we've always started by saying, well, 2020 has been quite a year, hasn't it? But I know in your field, which is mortgages, but also there's life insurance and wills and equity, all sorts of stuff that you guys do. It's been down for a bit, but actually there's been a bit of up as well, isn't there?
Crazy world, crazy year, Peter. Unbelievable. I thought, like a lot of people, in that when Boris at 5 o'clock that afternoon said we're going down, I thought I'm worried here. This is not right. I've got to say, we had 2 months of massive downfall in business because no one could. We weren't prepared for Zoom meetings and team meetings and things like that. It was as if the carpet had been pulled away from the mortgage industry, as well as other industries. But I've got to say, well done. I'm not a supporter of politics or something like that, but well done to the back end of this year, because the stamp duty holiday has really turbo boosted the housing market, which is a big income winner for the government.
And I mean, you and your company, you're a big name locally, and in Surrey and Hampshire, we know you well, and you're very much out there. So you're very much in tune with this area. Would it be fair to say that as we sit here, at the back end of 2020, vaccine being rolled out, you're looking into 21 now, going, right, hang on a second, can we just sort of bridge this gap? Obviously the stamp duty thing will finish eventually, and all that. Is that how you're looking now? What's it looking for you like?
Do you know what? I think you need to plan as you think it might happen, if that makes sense. My understanding is that the government, with regards to my business, the government isn't going to extend the stamp duty holiday. Yeah. So we're looking after our clients from here on to make sure that they get into their houses before the 31st of March.
Yeah. Well, of course, people can go to your website, which is mu-mortgages.com. They can have a look at where things are and all the rest of it for you. And in terms of confidence, though, and I know you're saying in a way you sort of almost need to plan for the unplanned. You need to have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, and all the way down the alphabet, probably. In terms of confidence, you're quite a confident man. I know you try to look on the bright side. So would you say, as we're going forward, that the Michael Usher optimism in the end is still there?
Definitely. Yeah. Without 100%, more than 100%, things will happen. It's not all bad. I truly feel sorry for other people in the industries, like the entertainment industry, the cinemas and everything, the little restaurants. But, whatever comes at you, you've got to tackle it head on, and be strong. And that's, I think lifetime experiences give you that confidence as well.
Just away from what I would call, your frontline business, can we just talk about you, your love of music, which I know you have anyway, but also, you're a bit good on the decks. we can hear you spinning some tunes, can't we?
Yeah.
So how do we do that?
Well, to be honest with you, 1981 was the time. That's probably around about one of those radio stations in Guildford started growing up.
Yeah.
I was DJing at Guildford Civic Hall, the under-18s discos, and Camberley Civic Hall, and all the various. And to be honest with you, obviously, up till I was doing probably 10 or 15 discos a year, doing weddings and 50th and 40th and 60th birthday parties. And obviously everything stopped in March/April.
Yeah.
And then I did I thought I need to cheer people up. But believe it or not, I don't do it for glory or anything like that or money. I decided to do a Facebook. I know we talked about this earlier in the year, but I decided to do a Facebook disco. And obviously what happened was I did a charity gig. I set up the disco in the back of one of my offices in Frimley. And what I did was I put music on. And the great thing was that we raised, and it's still in my bank account, £4,000, £4,150. Yeah. And it's in my bank account waiting for the matron at Frimley Park Hospital to say, give me the money, if that makes sense.
Fantastic.
So all my friends and my followers on Facebook were pledging money, and I was pushing them up. Yeah. Since then, people have been saying, when you're doing another one, So I went and bought some new equipment and got a license through Mixcloud.
Okay, yes, yeah.
So what I do now is everything's live, everything's recordable. People can, if they follow me, they can have the radio station next week and the week after.
Wow.
I'm just like Tony Blackburn now.
So people go on Mixcloud and search Michael Usher, do they? Is that the best?
They search me and
it's there. I mean,
find
that's what they need to do after this podcast series has ended. They've got to switch onto that. That's what's going on there. Mixcloud, search Michael Usher.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. So, you're not only a mortgage megastar, you're like a dance floor filler megastar. That's really what
I certainly am.
Well, listen, and raising money for charity as well, which is just great. And I know, you see, Michael, as being the pod pal for this final episode of the podcast in this series, pod pals are allowed to get us to make a donation to a charity. So would I be right in thinking that the charity that the £100 that you're donating is going to go to would be?
Let's add it to the pot that I've raised. So there's I think that will end up an extra £100, is it?
Yeah.
We're putting in.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, let's add it to the Frimley Park Hospital pot.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Just one of the many fantastic frontline services, of course, in the area that have just had such a difficult year, but so many of them being just heroes all the time. So we'd love to do that, Michael. And can I just say to you, sir, once of all, a pleasure to have you on here. Lovely to talk to you again. I know we'll talk again one day in some form or other in the future, I'm sure. I'm looking forward to your dance floor classics, my friend, on Mixcloud. And thank you very much indeed for being our pod pal on this series.
Thank you, mate. All the best to you and your futures.
The Peter Gordon Pod.
So thank you to Michael Usher from Michael Usher Mortgages for being our pod pal for this final episode. And thanks to the other pod pals that we've had on this series, Branson Adams, tax accountants and business advisors, and also Lock Rescue 24/7, local locksmith services for Surrey and Berkshire. We thank them very much indeed for their support. Okay, up steps, Breakfast Bev. Used to be called that. She's now called Be Careful Bev. And you've been, of course, reading out our Christmas heroes each episode over these recent weeks. So who have you got for the final episode today? Be Careful Bev.
Well, I have an email to read out right now. And the email says this. Hi, please don't mention my name, but someone that loves listening to you and deserves some recognition is a Nick Davison. Well, hello, Nick. This email says, that Nick volunteered to be the COVID officer at Woking Football Club despite having a full-time job, and is working really hard to ensure that everything is done correctly to let fans back in despite how often the regulations change. I know it is gratefully appreciated by everyone. Thank you. And well done, Nick Davison. Great work.
Yeah, congratulations, Nick. Well done. Truly a Christmas hero, as on this pod. And thank you very much indeed to people that have emailed us with nominations over these recent weeks as well. It's been good to hear from you. Been some lovely stories. And obviously, it's been a year where so many people have done some really great things. So thank you very much indeed. This is just a reminder that, of course, even though the pod series is ending, we will keep the social media going. So we're obviously on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook as well. So you can keep in touch via that way. And you never know. Oh, well, actually, the countdown to Christmas anyway keeps going on our Twitter feed, which you may have been following. And that will be going on as well. So in a moment, we are going to be catching up with the one and only High Sheriff of Surrey. That's next.
The Peter Gordon Pod. Thanks for listening.
So this being the final episode of this particular series of the podcast, I didn't really feel we could let the series close without getting, well, I think I could call him Surrey royalty, really. I mean, after all, he is the High Sheriff. The High Sheriff of Surrey joins us. Shahid Azeem. Shahid, hello.
Hi, how are you, Peter?
Yeah, oh, fine. Thank you very much, Dean. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, before we go any further, what is a High Sheriff, then, of a county? What's the role? What do you do?
Well, this position goes back to 1088, and that was set up to... back in 1088, you were responsible for law and order, the judiciary, taxes, mainly and you are appointed by the member of the royal family to be their representative in the county. So every county has a high sheriff. So I'm one in Surrey. So that position from 1088 to now is more of a ceremonial, still very much a figurehead, and you are responsible for sort of promoting the judiciary, as I say, the police, the crime commissioner, dealing with prisons and charities and cadets. So it is, and you're supposed to. Host the royal member of the family and the district judges. So it is a law and order, but it's a very privileged position. I can assure you, it doesn't give you any other privilege. I couldn't even get off my speed awareness course, so it doesn't give you that much influence.
Oh my word, High Sheriff and speeding drama. Well, I'm very pleased that you're following all those guidelines now, High Sheriff. And I think I bet you're also pleased that the whole tax collecting duty thing was dumped a few centuries ago as well, because I shouldn't think you'd be one involved in that. Leave that to the councils. So Shahid. I mean, here we are towards the end of 2020, and I'm sure you were looking forward to becoming High Sheriff and all the rest of it, but I bet you didn't think that you were going to be overseeing during your term things in Surrey in such the way that this year has been. I should think it's been really quite a thing for you to see, isn't it?
Well, I thought quite long and hard about it, and nobody, as you say, nobody predicted what's going to happen. The world's been turned upside down, but I would, to be honest, I look at it on the positive side, and and taking all the negative side out of it, and sort of the emotional side, and I just think it's been for me, it's been a great experience seeing what the public, the community are doing to support one another, and and seeing the emergency services, the food banks, the resilience force dealing with death with dignity, and then the challenges that the emergency services had, and the hospitals and all the key workers. So and neighbours. I just think there's so much good that's come out of this dreadful time we're going through, and I hope it's a reset for everybody. And I hope I've sort of mentioned it before, is we're so busy want to conquer the world or the universe, and yet we've got people who live 10 doors away from you and we don't know nothing about them. So I'm hoping is this opportunity for galvanizing people and bringing people together and become a more of a caring society that we should be.
I know that, and people may have seen some pictures on social media and maybe in the local press and things, but I know that, that you were talking about sort of hosting members of the royal family and things like that. And I know that has been the case. You've had various encounters, I think, in recent times, have you not?
Yes. Most of the royal visit have been on a personal basis. I mean, there haven't been any official visits, but in particular the Countess of Wessex and Prince Edward have been very supportive of Surrey. We had them, so I hosted them at a number of events, and they've been encouraging and supporting and getting their hands involved in a lot of the projects, and it just shows that they just supported the county very well. I mean, for me, the highlight actually is I've with the Countess of Wessex, I managed to the Disability Initiative. I managed to bake a flapjack. I don't think I've ever done cooking at all, but there's something I achieved as a high.
It's been a year of breakthroughs. You see, it's been a year of breakthroughs. That's very impressive, and that's great. And yes, I think a lot of people are aware that the Wessexes, who of course are based in Surrey, are big supporters, and that's good to hear. And Shahid, as High Sheriff, as we head towards 2021, what hopes have you got? I mean, I think we all have one particular hope, which rests on a particular vaccine, of course. But for you, are you saying, because you were talking about that sort of legacy of community that you were just sort of mentioning just now, you're hoping maybe for that to develop further into the new year?
Well, what I've seen, Peter, is that I've seen the faith groups have been working really, really together. Doesn't matter what religion you are, what colour, creed, and is that side. I think all the religious groups have been very, very supportive of one another. I think neighbours have been there, and you've got so many different organisations just popped up to support these wonderful people.
Well, hi, Sheriff Shahid. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the podcast. It's great to have you, and may I wish you a happy Christmas and also a very happy New Year in 2021, and hope to speak to you and look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you, and I wish all your listeners a very, very happy Christmas and a very peaceful New Year.
The Peter Gordon Pod.
So if you've been a keen listener to this podcast over these last few episodes, well, thank you, first of all, for that. But also, you may know that we have been following a particular charity Christmas campaign. And with this being the final episode, so we've got to a point where we need to know where everything stands. Bev, I know that we're going to be finding that out now in these next couple of minutes.
Yes, so the step-by-step, it was the Christmas appeal that we've been following in particular. And Nick, I know you're going to talk to us a little bit now from Step by Step about the appeal and how it's got on. But first of all, can you just explain what it really was that you were trying to achieve? I know you provide support and accommodation for local vulnerable people. However, this appeal in particular was over the Christmas period, wasn't it?
It was, yes. Yeah, Christmas is a really good time for us to do an appeal because everyone is really feeling what it would be like to be homeless at that time. But for young people, it's particularly difficult to be away from their families, to not be with people that they love, and just be in a really vulnerable situation. So the Open Doors campaign really aims to highlight youth homelessness, but also to make sure that we've got the support and accommodation that a young person needs during the Christmas period.
And you'd worked out that you wanted to provide that support and accommodation for a specific number of young people, hadn't you?
Well, we house 272 young people at any one time. And we've worked out that it costs approximately £30 per day to provide more than just a roof. It's not just about having somewhere to live. It's about a safe place to live that is secure for them, but also where they can access some support and counselling. And get employability support and everything along those lines to try and turn someone's life around rather than just providing a bed for a night. But yes, 272 young people housed. It costs about £8,000 per day.
So what was the overall target that you had set for this Christmas campaign?
We hoped to raise £30,000 for the Open Doors campaign this year. And we thought that was pretty ambitious given COVID and everything like that. But we have been overwhelmed by the response.
And so I think we are all very much waiting to hear how much you have managed to raise this year.
So far, and the money is still coming in, for which we are so grateful. But so far, we have got £35,864.
Brilliant.
Yes.
So thank you to everyone who has donated. We are so appreciative of what you've done. Particular shout out needs to go to the Fat Face Foundation, who gave us £10,000 towards the Open Doors campaign.
That's fantastic.
That is just brilliant, and we're absolutely delighted. And I suspect there's some smiling faces in Step by Step campaign HQ, Nick, as well.
Absolutely, yes, definitely. And I have to say thank you to you for everything that you've done in promoting it. It really has made a difference, and we're delighted that you got on board with it.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for the updates, and thank you for joining us as well today. And well, we are absolutely delighted, and we wish you, of course, and everyone at Step by Step, and everyone that you look after, a very, very happy Christmas.
And very Merry Christmas to you too.
The Peter Gordon Pod with PG, Bev and Matt.
Well, and fantastic was that. Great news from Step by Step. Really, really delighted about that. If you want to find out more about the organisation, by the way, the website is stepbystep.org.uk. What a result. Right. We've heard from Gary, who's been in touch, saying, hello, PG and gang. I wonder if you'd be able to mention our community project on your final podcast of the series. We're a community project to build and open a community-owned and community-run shop and cafe in the village of Normandy. The village has not had a local shop for many years, and our last pub closed a couple of years ago. There's nowhere for the community to shop without heading to Guildford or Aldershot, and nowhere for residents to meet and socialise. With a large elderly population, it'll also help prevent social isolation. Now, we need to raise, says Gary, about £324,000 going to be raised from a mix of grants and community shares bought by the local community. Anyone who lives, works, visits, or passes through Normandy will benefit from this project and can support it by making a pledge, if you would, at the website, which is normandyshop.co.uk. Gary, thanks for your email. Good luck with that. In fact, maybe keep in touch with that and see how it all goes. Right then, Bev, I know you've got a couple of things you need to raise. I mentioned Facebook earlier, which I think you were slightly concerned about. What's the problem with that?
Yeah, well, especially with having children, one in particular who does a lot of phonetics, and I'm sure actually Mrs. G does this as well.
Yes, she does.
Ooh, 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 book, 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 not buck, boo.
Yeah. Facebook.
What? No. What is? It's not the kitchen, but it's the sitting
room. Book. Room.
No, rum is something you drink sometimes with Coke. Room.
So what are you saying?
That you're wrong and I'm right.
I think we all know that's probably not the way this is going to finish. And you've got, and the other thing is Bev has also requested in this particular section of the podcast that and if you used to listen to the radio show, you know that she used to enjoy the various Christmas jokes that have done the rounds probably part of half a century. However,
I'm just going to give you one now, okay?
Okay.
Look at you. So, how did the bauble get addicted to Christmas?
I don't know. How did the bauble get addicted to Christmas?
He was hooked on trees his whole life. Oh, no, I should have said hooked, not hooked.
I was going to say, you went a bit sorry there. And is that it?
That's it for now.
Yeah, no, that's it. Probably full stop. You may have an opportunity in any other business at the end of the podcast. Right, now prepare yourself, because we are, of course, maybe depending on when you're listening to this, of course, we are recording this anyway, the right side of Christmas, as it were, ahead of Christmas, and we have got a special guest on the Peter Gordon Pod. He's here next.
The Peter Gordon Pod. Thanks for listening.
Well, whilst this is, of course, the final episode, and we are nearing the end, I have to say, of this particular episode, bearing in mind that hopefully you'll be listening to this before Christmas, so we are that close to it. And well, what sort of podcast would this be without us having the man himself, the big man. I'm not talking about myself here. I am talking about the one and only Father Christmas. Hello.
Hello, everybody. And a very, very happy Christmas.
Well, it's Father Christmas. Sorry, I'm just overwhelmed. Just generally.
Hello.
It's absolute delight to have you on.
I like being on your popcast, Peter. It's wonderful.
It's not a popcast, it's a podcast. Anyway, but I know you're a busy man, so we don't want to keep you.
Yes.
No, we really don't. However, I know that you wanted to give us an update on something or something.
Yes. Well, this year I've got some wonderful news about the elves.
Right.
The good list.
The good list, yes.
Morning, Matt.
Yeah.
And
Maestro Matt.
Bev.
Yeah, Maestro Matt. Be careful.
You're both on the elves good list this year.
Well,
that's lovely.
Thank you.
That's lovely for them, but I'm just wondering. Well, okay. So, what about me then?
Well, Peter, I've got a slight problem because some of my elves have been at the EEU, the Elves European Union,
right?
Because a few issues have been raised about your behaviour.
Oh yes. Yeah. What? Not the first time.
Being mean to Morning Matt
Maestro
and
Matt.
doing impersonations of him, apparently.
I don't think I've done that at any point.
Oh, and Peter, that's not all. No. Teasing Bev about the television programs she watches.
Be careful, Bev. Well, she does watch slightly random programs. And
one here I don't quite understand this, Peter, but quite topical, quite seasonal. Something about mincing. PG mincing. I can't quite read the words.
Right. I think we might leave this.
I think
the line's going. Well,
making some festive treats. I don't see why that would get you on the naughty list.
Oh, I see. That's very good. Wordplay is always a winner. So anyway, well, listen, Father Christmas, it's so absolutely delightful, sort of, to have you on, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas, and by the way. If you're flying past a good friend of ours, Paul Marcus's,
he's on the good list
on Christmas. Well, can I just say that I'm just going to be sending you a quick telegram to reverse that, so that unfortunately you may just have to fly past. So okay. So
Merry Christmas, everyone,
and to you, Father Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye, Father Christmas.
Bye.
The Peter Gordon Pod.
Well, what an absolute boon that was to have Father Christmas on the podcast. I think we all enjoyed that. Him probably more than the rest of us. Anyway, thanks for him for, of course, taking time out of his busy schedule to join us today. We are almost at the end. We are almost at the end of this podcast series. So let's go around the room for one final, any other business, AOB, Maestro Matt.
Yes, my final AOB is for Christmas dinner on the 25th.
Yes, very good.
In our household, there's talk that it's going to be salmon, not turkey. It's just been floating around. They've just put it out there. I don't know how I feel about that. And should I complain or should I just go with it? Bearing in mind, I will not be doing any of the cooking. I will just be turning up. But salmon?
Are you sure you're not talking about the starter?
No, I double-checked.
Salmon.
No, double-checked. For starters, it's prawn cocktail. So it's all going to be fish or pate, actually, to start. And then salmon. That can't be right. It can't be right.
Sounds a bit fishy to me.
That's very good. I'd get a delivery and make between you and I. Just get a takeaway. Just excuse yourself from the table occasionally. Pop up. I've just got to pop off.
Yeah.
That's
good. Okay, good.
Absolutely. Right. Any other business? Be careful, Bev.
Yeah. Why does Santa go down the chimney?
Oh, God. I don't know. Why does Santa go down the chimney?
Because it suits him.
It's really rubbish, that one. I'm sorry, but it is. Was that your any other business for today?
Yes, thank you.
Good grief. I've got a little
Merry Christmas and lovely to. I've really enjoyed doing this podcast. It's been lots of fun. And thank you to both of you and everyone who's listened, because it has been fun. And a Merry Christmas to you all.
Apart from the jokes. So I'm just to say, I'm on the radio a little bit in the coming weeks as we're recording this. So I'm now on Radio Biscuit, which you'll find on DAB Plus in the Aldershot and Woking areas, but also online and also via the Radio Player app. And also you can ask you know who to ask Radio Player to launch Radio Biscuit, and you know who will play that for you as well. Just so you know, I'm only saying you know who because, as you may have heard in previous podcasts, you know who is sitting about 3 feet from where I am. I didn't want to spark everything off. Also, going to be a little Christmas show, the Peter Gordon Christmas show on Way Valley Radio in Alton. It's also online, but also in the Alton area on FM. And a couple of days before Christmas, so Monday the 21st, Tuesday the 22nd, going to be on BBC Radio Surrey doing the breakfast show there. So a few little radio pop-ups. I also, as part of my AOB, wanted to thank you to, once again, Michael Usher Mortgages for being the pod pal for this final episode of the series. And also, I wanted to say thank you very much indeed for listening. Thank you for downloading. However it is, whether or not you've done it on one of the main podcast platforms or maybe YouTube you've been listening on, however it is you've come across this, you're more than welcome. And I think that is it, guys. So, I don't know, I think it's from all three of us in a row, it's going to be a happy Christmas, isn't it?
Happy Christmas!
Happy Christmas! Take care. We'll see you again.
The Peter Gordon Pod. Thanks for listening.